Welcome to the Building to Scale podcast, where we bring real entrepreneur stories that showcase the challenges and successes in building and scaling an entrepreneurial business. Our host, Jeff Chastain, is a business transformation coach with Admentis, where he coaches business leaders and their teams with a proven set of principles and tools, helping them gain clarity in and get more of what they want from their business. Make sure to stick around until the end of the show, and we will reveal how you can become our next guest.
Hey everybody, Jeff Chastain here with another episode of the Building to Scale podcast, where, as always, I get the opportunity really to speak with different entrepreneurial business leaders, different influencers here, just hearing their stories, really their journey here as to where they've come from, how they've gotten to where they are right now as they've grown and scaled their business. So today with me out of Philadelphia, I have Chris Carr with Farotech, a marketing agency out here for now 20 years. I think you said top 20 here in the area. So congratulations on that and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself and about Farotech. What do you got going on out there?
Sure. I started Farotech in 2001. Literally just a couple months after 9/11, I was working at a financial firm, was working the phones for a financial firm, and just got to move into IT. And then September 11th happened, and they said, guess what? We're going to put you back on the phones. And in the meantime, I had been building websites and doing a couple things and was like, you know what? I'm not married. I don't have kids. Why don't I take the leap? And I did. And, 20 years later, you kind of Forrest Gump your way through, all those things. And then, here we are 20 years later. I make the joke very often that in my first 3 years, I doubled my income every year for 3 years, which is phenomenal. But that just shows how little money I made. It was like year one was like ramen noodles. Year two was 2 bags of ramen noodles, So, 20 years later, I joke around. It's like, oh, you're an overnight success. I'm like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like just.
Yeah, I actually remember we had another guest on a while back and said, yeah, his company was an 8-year overnight success. It's like, yeah, that's really more that we glorify startup, we glorify entrepreneurs and say, look at Elon Musk, et cetera, kind of thing. But the reality is nobody really starts out of the gate just on fire at that point kind of a thing, unless you're just absolutely lucky. But I can't even name a single one at this point.
I know. I read Tim Ferriss's book and it's a 4-hour work week. I'm like, oh, really? Why don't you go work for 4 hours? Let me know how you do. like I wrote a book. It's called 80-Hour Work Week. And I still have a pile on my desk a mile high.
That's typically the way business works kind of a thing.
Exactly. Is this what you want?
So I'm curious kind of thing. Because obviously I started probably actually a little bit before then kind of a thing with the whole website. Everything was still kind of, anybody can go build a website at that point. It was all the blinking cursors and blinking tags or whatever, all that kind of garbage that was that way back when. How has that kind of evolved with you in terms of the business landscape and turning it obviously into a full marketing firm? What's that kind of been like over 20 years of evolution basically with that industry?
Yep. Well, I mean, so let me tell you about my business and then I'll circle back to the question you asked is that we started out building websites and then started actually winning some awards from building some websites. And our clients were saying, oh my gosh, we love our website. It's so great, but nobody can find us on Google. So then I had to say, well, you know what? I got to figure that out too. So now I'm building websites and I'm doing SEO. Then the argument was, great website. We're on the first page of Google, but it doesn't mean we're getting more clients. And so then I had to get into what we call CRO, which is conversion rate optimization. And so now we help clients build a system that generates leads, nurtures leads into clients, and then converts those clients into kind of like raving fans of your brand and your mission. And so it's kind of like going from a funnel approach more to a flywheel, because if you have a really great product, what you need to do is build a system around it so that it self-perpetuates, so that doing a great job alone is only going to get you just a small amount of referrals, even though no matter how great you do, it doesn't always just generate that thing. So if you have a system, you're going to be able to take some of the greatest things you do and it's going to self-propel into a lot more leads on the other end. And so that's that's sort of the science of what we do, is build these systems for these clients, because transparently they come to me and they say, well, if I was just on the first page of Google, all my problems would be solved. I'm like, nope. You know what? If I was just at a social media presence, I wouldn't have to worry about things. Like, nope. Like, all those things are good, but if they're not connected to one another and they're not talking, you know, what you're essentially doing is you're kind of building your house on sand. And I don't know that you've ever seen this or not, but like, there's businesses that they were one algorithm away of losing everything, and they did. And these Google algorithm changes happen quite often. Social media, you know, Starbucks spent millions or billions to be the most loved company in the world on Facebook. And then Facebook just changed an algorithm, and now only 1% of their audience sees their content unless they're willing to pay for that. And just even this month, I mean, Apple says, hey, we're going to put everything in favor of privacy. And now Facebook advertising, it's like literally getting shot in the leg. So we think, oh, you know what? These algorithm changes, the days of getting crushed by an algorithm change are over. Like, you don't control these systems. They're not yours. You are like living in their world. And I don't base your whole business off of one solution, because you could wake up one day and heads will have to roll because they did something in their own best interest.
That's,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's always the challenge there of being dependent upon somebody else, kind of a thing there, whether it's a certain vendor or even, like you're saying, a platform or something like this, because it's out of your control. Like you said, they change their business model. And at that point, because I remember the days, and it's been several times, that Google has changed algorithms, and all of a sudden, like you said, it's just overnight, business vanishes right there.
Yeah, seriously. It's like watching the stock market crash.
Yeah.
You know?
But I like what you're saying about building the entire system, because early days of the website, it was, hey, throw up a website, everybody will come. And that very quickly vanished as millions of people had websites, kind of stuff. So then, it turned into the search engine optimization stuff. But even still, I still see a lot of people dumping so much money into Facebook ads and social media ads and stuff like that. It's like, okay.
I mean, like, we do a lot of video, and people come to me, it's like, hey, I want to make a viral video. I was like, every minute, 400 hours of YouTube videos are uploaded every single minute.
Yeah.
Like, so you want to get a viral video? If I'm going to build a viral video, I'll make it for myself, because like, you just can't make a viral video. You know what I mean? Like, you just can't do that. Right. And there's people that win the lottery with this stuff, and you can make a really compelling video, but it's all going to come in the promotion and the system. It's not going to be, I don't know, like the Dollar Shave Club video was a stroke of genius and a stroke of luck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I think a lot of people miss, is there is still a lot of luck in that area, that like a game kind of a thing. There's, like you said, there's a science on how to best put a message together, put a brand together. But having that really blow up, really go viral kind of a thing, there's a lot of luck to that still.
Yep.
So I'm curious, kind of going back to where we were, what's the evolution of business look like? Obviously, from, like you said, kind of starting on your own 20 years ago to now, I think I saw somewhere 50 plus employees kind of a thing. So good-sized company right there. Yeah.
I mean, we have 20 full-time, but a lot of our employees that work for us are subcontracted. We have, almost 35 writers alone. And there's just a creativity curve that we found, that we actually got better results out of 1099 writers that weren't doing it full time, because I don't know how to describe it. It's like, as soon as they had 40 hours a week, like 15 of those hours turned into like the standard BS that happens when you work for a company. But when they're 1099, even though they've been with us for years, they don't have to worry about showing up for some pointless meeting that doesn't apply to them and all that stuff like that. And so what I was doing is I was keeping their unique ability, and I'm willing to pay you a premium to do your unique ability and not be subject to all of the bullcrap that just won't impact your job. I want you to focus on your creativity, not, joining our Facebook Friday fun group or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I've seen that one before on the creative ones, truly, especially with writing. I would say that's not my area kind of a thing. So it's like, you really got to get in the zone to sit there and do that. That if I'm crammed with a deadline, or crammed with hey, you got to spend 40 hours a week like you're doing this, I could see that turning into a burnout, or turning into the point where you're you're forcing it more than you have to there.
Yeah. Just we track everyone's time, and, at least I think it's almost like 8 hours a month, or 8 full hours a month is just reading email.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to pay you to read your email. I want to pay you to do your craft, So, I'm just making an argument in the aspect of when agencies do what they do, when you really start to count on what the things really matter. Like, I think that the size of the company is based not only on who you have, what seat they're in, but also what allows them to have the best effort on their best day, and how do you maximize that and duplicate that throughout your business. And
makes a lot of sense right there, because that's really where we want them. You're hiring them for a specific role. It's like, okay, like you said, creativity. How do we maximize that? How do we put them in the situation to maximize their skills, maximize their output, maximize the benefit to everybody at that point?
Yeah. Like, if they're a carpenter, I'm not making money if you're not swinging a hammer. You know what I mean? And so that's the type of thing that we're trying to look for, is just trying to figure out, it's in our space, transparently, there's only about, when you have your margin and you think, oh my gosh, it's 45 or maybe 50% margin, but then you add your overhead, your cost, and all stuff like that. In my world, in the service-based industry, you're looking at, maybe when everything's all paid, maybe about a 15% margin. But there's a lot of people in my shoes that their margin is like 7%, maybe 8%.
Yeah.
And so much of our job is about efficiency. You know what I mean? Like, creating a really great product in half the time that was needed to do it. Like, I speak at a lot of colleges because I'm trying to always look for the best talent. And I'm like, here's your dream. You're going to be able to create this ad campaign for this company. It's going to be wonderful. But by the way, you got to do it in 50% less time than you think. So your enjoyment level just goes, because every second matters, because at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Like, it's all about efficiency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of mentioning that. I'm curious, because a lot of times the creative agencies, I'm working with companies to systemize and to build processes and systems like that for that very reason. But a lot of times, especially with creative sides, I get pushback on that, saying, hey, we still need the creativity. We want the flexibility. We don't want to put in all these processes and eliminate the creativity, eliminate the flexibility there. So I'm curious kind of how you balance that. I think it was actually on your website of saying art meets science kind of thing. How do you balance those two together from a creative agency, but still processing kind of thing? Yep.
Well, the good thing is that after 20 years and of constantly tinkering and refining, I failed so many times that I've learned how to do it right. Do you know what I mean? Like, so that's the thing you just sort of just can't teach. So when I get a lot of agencies that I find myself speaking to other agencies, and I'm just like, it's like, what do I do? I'm like, survive. Like, you keep swimming and eventually you'll figure this out. And they're like, well, no, what's the tactic? And I'm like, I don't know the tactic for you. I know what it is for me and for the team that I built and the standard operating procedures that I have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to do this, you're going to need a surgeon. You know what I mean? Because this is, I don't know, just my opinion. A lot of this stuff is looking at the minor details that very few people look to do. And this is going to be right up your alley. Like, I pay for a life coach. I could do everything that the life coach does, but they keep me accountable. And they also have like a system that helps me not waste my time. And I could also fix my toilet, but I could also spend 15 hours fixing my toilet and the water will still be running. So I'd rather pay a professional to get to the brass tacks and to be able to know the 1,000 things that I don't know right now. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. It's kind of one of those, I always fall back from a systems perspective onto the McDonald's story of, okay, yes, that's how they built out the franchise model because it's all systematized. But at the same time, exactly what you're saying, you wouldn't take McDonald's system, their blueprint, and go try to apply it to an ad agency. It doesn't make any sense there. You've got to figure out how to build your own system. And that's where I think, honestly, a lot of business owners kind of struggle because today there's so many resources out there. There's so many books you can go read, but taking that book knowledge and now translating it to be, okay, what does that mean in terms of my business, in terms of the way we're running things? you still got to figure things out a lot. And sometimes a coach on the outside, like I said, will help with that and bring the accountability, if nothing else, to say, okay, we're going to help figure this out and drive that forward. But yeah, trying to put somebody else's boilerplate on top of your business is just, it doesn't work.
But that pro is going to know, I'm going to butcher this analogy or this story, but it's something about, let's pretend like it was like a plumber, and the plumber comes to the house and basically the water's running, and the plumber goes over and he looks at the thing and he tightens the one screw and he gives him a bill for like $250. And the guy says, hey, you know what? $250, all you did was like tighten one screw. And he goes, no, it was like $25 to tighten the screw, but $175 to know which screw to turn. You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly. I've heard that in multiple different variations, but it really comes down to that expertise. And I'd say it's even the same in the marketing world. Probably, it's like, I could go post a Google ad. It's not rocket science to go read their help doc, tell them exactly how to go post it. But hopefully in your situation, your shoes, you're bringing a lot more expertise to say, okay, this is the way we want to craft the wording. This is the way we want to go put it out. This is all the things that go into it, kind of a thing there. So it applies really across the board to anybody and everybody from the expertise standpoint.
Yep. Well, let me show you where we're unique real quick. Hold on.
Sure.
So let's pretend, I'm going to do the analogy here. I'm going to excuse the over dramatic way of doing this, but you go in and you go to a doctor. I'm the doctor, and you come in and you say, hey, you know what? This is my routine physical. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I haven't looked at any of your charts, maybe a couple minutes, whatever it is, but you'd be a perfect candidate for open heart surgery. You're like, this is just a physical. Like, you didn't read anything. You didn't do any of these charts. You know what I mean? He's like, no, you'd be perfect for it. You're like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, that's a massive, massive decision here. And you haven't even done any of the research. You haven't had to take a stress test. I haven't had an MRI. I haven't had any of this stuff. Now that sounds preposterous, obviously, right? In the marketing world, this happens every single day. They say, hey, Chris, I've got a problem. I need more traffic and I need more sales. And here's some other challenges that I have. And the average marketing company's like, yeah, well, now let me look in my piece of software. Yep, I do see that problem. Let me get back to you, and I'm going to give you $100,000 proposal. And you're going to choose my proposal over two other proposals because maybe I'm 100,000 and they're 105,000.
Yep.
It happens all the time. All right. Like, meaning my point is that with very limited research and software that almost all of us have, we sell this dream, and you're making your decision off of maybe 2 hours worth of research. Maybe. It's like, we're very different. Like, I never give you a proposal that way. Our first 2 months is a gap assessment. You have to pay for this first. This is literally the size of a phone book.
Nice.
All right. What I'm going to figure out is, what is your 3 to 5 year mission, your goals? So let's say hypothetically you want to be a $15 million company, $15 million in growth. What I have to do is I have to figure out what $15 million looks like. I have to figure out how many sales, how much retention, all that stuff that has to happen. And then I got to go back and I got to look at the industry and the volume of your industry and say, hey, you know what? Is that growth possible? What level of market share do I need to get? What do I need to do to your existing platform? What do I need to do to your messaging? How many words do I got to get on the first page of Google? How many ads do I have to buy? What does all this have to look? And I literally have broken it down into a scorecard. And the scorecard allows you to figure out the priority level and the deliverables. And we sit on this guide for the next 3 to 5 years. Constantly, we look at it like the Bible. Like, we're literally constantly making adjustments to that plan, but it works. Like, our clients, we have a 93% retention rate. And it's because we look at the numbers and not at the marketing. Even though we're doing marketing, like, if you come to me and say, I need $15 million worth of growth, and I say, got you a Facebook post, got 3,000 likes on it. What do you think? I'm like, that doesn't get me to 15 million.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as a partner, we have to get real with you, and we need to know your numbers. We got to be accountable to your numbers, and we have to follow a playbook, because the reality is if you don't, you're going to do this thing that we call RAM, which is random acts of marketing. We base our marketing on hunches, on a website I liked, on a commercial I saw, on a Facebook ad I saw. And you're constantly like, oh, it's like being at a buffet. And I'm like, you know what? if you only worked out at the gym 3 times a month, like no matter how hard you work out for 3 workouts, you're never going to get ripped. Like you can't work out in a way that's going to take off all the sins you've done by eating at crappy restaurants. And it's just not going to work. It's consistency, it's strategy. And it's like keeping the main thing and sweating the small stuff. So anyhow,
So in other words, I just need you to come pitch all my business owner clients kind of thing, because basically you just described everything I do at a marketing level. I do it at the business level kind of thing. So that's great. I'm sitting here pulling out key points everywhere kind of a thing there. But yeah,
oh, thanks. Yeah.
So much of that is because it's. I'll go back to you said the 3 to 5 year plan kind of a thing right there. It's like so many business owners I see are just living almost in the day. It's gut feel as to what's going on in the business. You're obviously focusing on the marketing aspects, but yeah, people do that from the people side, from the operation side, from the finance side, et cetera. It's like, you got to have the numbers, you got to have the scorecard, you got to know what's really going on. Then, like you said, even the metrics standpoint, 3,000 Facebook likes. Okay, what does that equate to? Our goal, like you said, is profitability. Our goal is how much revenue we want to bring in. If those two don't equate to each other, technically, yes, it's a metric that you got 3,000 likes on that Facebook post, but it doesn't mean anything. It's not connected to your goal. So everything's got to be driven off of that plan. And I really like the concept there, the idea of doing marketing that way, because like I said, anybody I can even think of or talking to is, okay, what do we do today? How do we get your brand image built up today? How do we get your message out there today? It's like, okay, what's the long-term strategy? And having everything business-wise, but especially marketing, I'm seeing tied to that strategy is major differential for sure.
Yeah, but there's in marketing, there's 2 camps. Like this is the artsy, hoity-toity people that sell brand all day with no quantitative ROI.
Yeah.
And then there's the quantitative ROI guys, and it looks like they're going to give you like a stick figure that hopes will convert. You know what I mean? And so what we did was we tried to say, hey, you know what? We need to get great results, but it can't look like crap in the process, or we're not going to get this. And so most times these 2 guys, they hire each other. The 2 companies that hire each other, I put them both under one roof.
Makes sense. I mean?
Yeah. And because it's about efficiency. Because if you're 2 different companies, even the company that hires 2 different companies, massive inefficiencies using 2 different companies to do what one company can do, if they're doing it right, if they're rowing in the right direction.
No, it makes perfect sense. So honestly, I would say I've loved the conversation. I'd love to take it in a dozen different directions kind of a thing here and keep going. Yeah. But still, like I said, I love the process, the idea there. So I'm curious more, obviously 20 years of experience, you were talking about figuring things out along the way kind of a thing. If you were to look back at it and say, hey, what's 1 or 2 things kind of a thing there that come to mind real often that say, if I had just done this earlier or tried this earlier, might have worked out? Is there anything like that comes to mind?
Yeah. We are trying to get now into what I'm always like this guy who has these little anagrams or whatever it is, but there's this concept of like riches and niches. What I mean by that is that we're very good in the orthopedics marketing space. But the problem is that the only reason why I don't double down on orthopedics marketing is because we get 35 leads a month. And whether you're a mold remediation company or whatever that is, if you're willing to pay the rates that we need to be paid, it's like, yeah, I'll work with you. And so I've essentially hired a VP of partner growth, which is just basically a sales guy, a development guy. And he worries and he gets all those clients for us. And now I'm more surgical on getting the clients that we want rather than the clients that we need, or no, I'm probably not saying that right. The clients we want rather than the clients that are willing to pay the bills.
Okay.
We're subject matter experts in about 4 different verticals. And what I want to be able to do is double down on what we're really smart at rather than working with clients that we have to go learn their business. It costs us a ton of money to go learn your business.
That makes sense, especially when you're talking about putting together that massive of a playbook. That's what I was thinking when you were talking about that. I was like, that's a lot of research, a lot of work right there. Whereas fine tuning down your niche, I can see that for sure.
Yep. But in healthcare, we're almost turnkey. I know where to look. I know what to say 9 times out of 10. I know how often to say it. I know how to gauge success. I know how to pivot. That's what I want to be able to do. Is I want to be able to be in a spot where we don't deviate but we have financial goals and stuff like that. And so it's very hard to turn away like a shiny price tag. You know what I mean? So now we've crafted the company that there's a division that handles any and every business that would be a good fit for us. But we have it's not a VIP. That's not what I want to say, but it's a very tailored section of our business that deals with the areas of strategic growth where we want to grow.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's an interesting take on it, because normally everybody says, well, niche down and only focus that, turn everything else away. But like you said, there are projects, other people, I'm assuming, willing to pay at that point. It's like, hey, if you're willing to pay for the discovery, then yeah, our process works. We just got to do a little bit more, more legwork, more research right there.
Yep. I mean, orthopedic surgeons own the practice, and these guys get paid like professional athletes. So trying to get 10 orthopedic surgeons to all agree to even sit down for a meeting is an act of God. And so if I sat there and waited for them to get out of their own way, you know what I mean? I'd be poor. So I need to be able to keep revenue up. But once I do get their attention, I don't lose it, but I got to get it originally. And you just can't spend your day waiting for Superman. You know what I mean? Like, it's a God timing thing. You know what I mean? That's just my viewpoint. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to get the clients we're going to get when we get them, because that's what we can handle at the time. It's just, for 20 years, I've tried to force things, and it's not.
I'm right there with you on that. I'm still looking for the system that you just put it into play, and all of a sudden, once a month, it drops a new client out, kind of thing, and it just doesn't exist. Yeah.
I mean, it can, but it might not be the client that you want. Like, in other words, I'm trying to get to that super ideal client base. You know what I mean? Because when it comes down to efficiency, I can get clients. The clients are the easy part for me. I'm not saying, you know what I mean? Take that with a grain of salt. Getting ideal clients are very different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I'd agree with you on that. Yeah. Because you tend to get, and granted, this is your area for sure, but yeah, getting them, it's easy to cast a wide net and get a whole bunch of things, but it's like, okay, do you want the ones that you really want right there for your niche? It's a lot harder.
Ideal clients, we make good margin and they get great success. They get really good wins, and we reach those goals we outlined. Those are the ideal clients. And those are the ones that I am willing to shop for, bleed for, do whatever it takes to find them, because they're out there. You know what I mean? The other clients, I have to mold them into ideal clients, which cost me, Farotech, more money. We eventually get there, but there's blood. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to try to turn an average client into an ideal client. They're not born that way. You know what I mean?
I'm right there with you, because there's in my world, there's the client that is coachable, is willing to learn, is willing to adapt, is willing to change, versus if there's the other one that, yes, they see the value into it, but they're stuck in their ways, kind of thing. They're not willing to adapt, that, hey, this is the way we've always done things. Even though you're showing me something that might work, I'm not willing to take the risk or to adapt. Same kind of thing. They're maybe willing to pay, but one's going to be a lot more successful. One's going to be a lot more work for me, trying to sit there and keep beating on that wall until you finally decide to make that decision to say, okay, we might try something new here.
Yeah. I mean, we're an engineering firm that needs a writer that's triple, has a double master's degree and doesn't want to do that, wants to be a writer. I'm like, oh, those writers are just on every corner.
Yeah.
Good luck. You know what I mean? So I do want you to help you grow, but like the assassins I need to write your stuff, like literally they're sitting on Mount Olympus right now. I mean, they're there. I can find them. You're gonna have to pay for them. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It ain't easy. You know what I mean? But they're willing to make the investment. So now we make the promise, and then I got to go fulfill it. And then I got to find really great talent, all within budget and stuff like that. That's a less ideal client. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, exactly. And I think that, like you said, that really applies across the board, that there's always that certain area that fits within your wheelhouse a lot easier, kind of thing, versus others. So yeah, I think that applies across the board. So definitely appreciate the time, appreciate the insight. Say if people want to learn more about you, about marketing, about Farotech, where's the best place to go find you?
You can go to farotech.com. That's FAROTECH.com. You can also email me at info@farotech.com. And then from a social media handles things, my name is Chris Carr, and you can find me you'll know where to find me.
If it's marketing, probably just about everywhere. So yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll definitely get the links all right here below. So I appreciate the time, appreciate the expertise, and great talking with you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Building to Scale podcast. If you would like to share your entrepreneurial business growth story, please visit buildingtoscale.com/guest. If you got something out of this interview, would you do both us and our guest a favor and share it on your social media accounts? Don't forget to hit subscribe in your player so that you don't miss any future episodes, and make sure to reach out to Jeff Chastain on any of the major social media networks, or check us out at admentis.com.